A very good afternoon to everyone. I, Varsha Khule, welcomes you all for the webinar on contemporary trends and career perspective in telecom industry, organized by Electronics Engineering Department, Medicaps University, Indore. Now, I would like to introduce you all to our guest, our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Satnam Singh. Mr. Singh is currently working in Nokia Solutions and Networks as design and planning manager. He is having a very extensive experience of around 15 years plus either, I'll say, in telecom industry. He worked in various fields of telecommunication services as a business in business operations, in R&D sector, as in a customer support section. He also worked as a network solution engineering. He also has an experience of project assurance and process management. His expertise area also includes mobility service engineering, optimization and operation for GSM, 3G and LTE technologies. In a nutshell, if I'll say, he is having expertise in maximum field in the telecommunication. If I want to explain his persona, then he is a team player. He's result-oriented, very focused, and worked effectively in different levels. With this, I would like to invite our guest to address our participants. So please.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome on this webinar. So before starting, I just want to, explain you one of the incident, right? This is something, when I was a 14-year-old in 1997, somehow, I visited Mumbai almost for the first time. And during this, my visit to the Bombay, I saw one person talking on a phone. And that was my first experience to see the actual mobile phone. Right, मैंने वहाँ पे टच नहीं किया था, just I saw someone is talking on a phone, right? And then in 1999 I touched the first time mobile phone, and then after when I got a chance, I started with the telecommunications. And now we can talk about the evolution of the telecommunications, right? As an industry, almost from the era where there was a signal was shared as a smoke signal or by the birds and all, there was a multiple methods of the communications, right? To the today's era when we are having like you can send a message in a fraction of seconds, right? So we will talk about this, but before going ahead, I just want to cover, right, with respect to our Indian telecommunication industry, how it's look like and where we are, right? So if we talk about the Indian telecommunication industry, so we are the second highest, right, in terms of second largest in terms of, I rather say, on the subscriber base. That means in India, when the world sees India, India is one of the biggest market of the telecommunication subscribers. We are having 1,167 million subscriber active. And this is the, the result of a November survey. So now it might be increased little bit more. And if we talk about on the internet users, right, again, we are on the second highest. And the growth of the internet users are a 0.79% per quarter. And which is the highest growth across the world statistics, right? And on the affordability, if you talk about, right, as per the TRAI, every user is having the 11 GB data every month. That means we are browsing a data, we are utilizing the data for 11 GB. And the tele density, and which is the phenomena I'm talking about, the tele density is something like, let's say, if we talk about 100 people, how many people are having access to the telecommunication services? So it was a 18.23 in the year 16, and which become a 87.3 in the year 20. So this phenomena what I am sharing you can sense where we are sitting and where we are placed in the market. So we are in the telecommunication world is looking towards us. Now even the Tesla and all their management team is planning to launch the services in India. They are in a discussion and negotiation with the government. So on terms of the subscriber base, on terms of the affordability, on terms of the internet users, on terms of the resources, we are much ahead in the world. So let's talk about this industry with respect to the point of when we talk about the telecom. So telecom consists of three major streams, right? One is the wireless, right, which is known as the mobile and all devices. One is the wired line, which is the fixed line, which is getting eliminated, but still we are having, right? And third is the enterprise services, as the internet services, where we are having the enterprise or the customer based services, right? So we will try to cover all the three scenarios, but on the major part, we will talk about the wireless, which is the in terms of the share. If you talk about the sharing of this, so 87% people are actually having the mobile wireless service as compared to wireline. So on, if we talk about the evolution, okay, if we talk about the evolution on this wireless services, so you have heard about the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and nowadays a hot topic is 5G, right? So what is the major difference between the technology, right? So I try to cumulate all the things where we can compare the differences, right? The speed is a one major factor. What we are talking about, the bandwidth, what we are getting in the 1G, 1G was the totally voice based, 2G was voice along with the text, and 2.5G, between the 2G and 3G, there was when the GPRS was introduced or the edge services was introduced, right? So where we start getting, the services towards the internet. So if we check on the bandwidth part, right? So major changes on the with respect to the speed from 2 kbps speed. So now we are capable to get the 200 mbps in India. In future, we will get the more than a 1 giga, right? On the technology front, the initial days, all this 1G, 2G was introduced with the analog cellular technology, while today we are having all packet at the IP seamless coverage technology, right? So evolution from analog cellular to the IP and seamless, connectivity, like we are having a LAN, WAN, MAN, PAN, right? Every kind of the connectivity can be clubbed together in the new age technology for the 4G and 5G. If we talk about the services, so services was only we are initially days we are having a voice, right? Nowadays we can talk about the artificial intelligence, IoT, right? You had heard the terms machine to machine communications, right? ML. So this all are feasible because of the evolution and all. So we will also cover this part, how the changes in the terms of the architecture or the technology part also. Now on the multiplexing side, if we check, so it was from the frequency division to the code division multiplexing, right? So we are having this multiplexings also with respect to the spectrum utilization, how efficiently we can have the resources to be used in the network. So again, we are having the evolution over there. On a switching part, when we talk about the switching, that is from the circuit switching. Circuit switching is something related to your voice access area, right? CS core to all the packet core, where we are having the seamless connectivity, or the all element or all the equipment of this system is talking on the packet, right? And on the core network, like we are having a PSTN, which was the line based, or now we are having all the internet or the EPC, evolved packet core, on the core network side, right? So this was the evolution from 1G to 5G, right? If we talk about the deployment period, so you can see the initial days, it took a very long time, and once it will be streamlined. If you can look at the 3G area, right? So 3G was started in the development was started in the 1990s. They start thinking on the 3G. 3GPP started working, right, on the same thing, and then by the 2002 we launch and we get the services, and just within the fraction of time from the 2000 only, the 4G was started, and the 5G we are almost ready. Only the spectrum and the you probably you guys are aware, right? We are having the commercial trials also in the India, right? So now going on a little deeper side with respect to the technology, how they are working, right? So if we can see that particularly, so let's start with the GSM technology, right? So here I will brief you little bit about your GSM architecture, how actually the GSM architecture work, right? So if you are able to see the pictures of on the right hand side, right? So here was the base station subsystem, right? We are having a BTS, which is the base transmission system, and the BSC, which is the base station controller, right? So combined, it's known as a BSS, and then we are having the NSS system, right, which is the network switching and subsystem. So these are the key elements during the GSM architecture. How the GSM architecture work? So let's start from the right to left. First, let's talk about the MSC. What is the MSC? Actually, it's a switching device which routed your call from the PSTN to the ISTN, right? All the registration, authentications, cell location, right? This all kind of information, inter MSC handover, and the services for which the subscriber is having the subscription or the active users can be decided by the MSC, which is the mobile switching center. There was a two sub part of this mobile switching center. One is the HLR, right, which is the home location register, and another is a VLR, which is the visitor location register. So if we talk about the HLR on the home location, right, so the main function of the HLR is the very one thing, to have all the information related to the subscriber, right? The activity of the subscriber, let's say the last known location, right, that can be taken from the HLR. All the profiles related to the subscriber is stored in the HLR, right? And the part of the information was shared for the VLR, so that every time MSC cannot reach to HLR for getting the information. So whatever is the required and necessary information is always stored in the VLR, which is the the same part of the MSC. Now the paging is also done by the HLR. The paging, when I said, it's something, let's say you are having a mobile at your home. You are not using your mobile, that means you are not calling to anyone, but your mobile is connected with the internet, or your mobile is connected with the all the services. I meant to say all the services are connected. Your mobile is having a communication with the BTS, which is the closest BTS, and how the call will be land up on your phone. So how your location was shared, how the MSC known this call on the, how to switch this call towards the targeted BTS group or the targeted BTS. So that activity is actually a paging between the UE and this HLR, where they both exchange the keep alive message kind of thing, which we always known as the network is visible. Okay, we are getting a network. So that network, what we are getting is also a part of a paging message exchange along with that particular network, right? And then we come on the BSC part. So BSC usually taking care of your all the group of the BTS. Let's say the BSC is responsible for all the radio resource allocation. Let's say if you want to make a call, you require a resource on which your call will be trigger, or all the communication will be happened. So that resource allocation, that controlling, the signaling controlling is usually taken care by the BSC, right? And the BTS is simply connected with your UE. It's a transceive station which allocate the user and the allocation of the resources in the BTS. I mean to say, how many users can be supported on that particular cell site is usually decided by the BTS based on the capacity defined on the BTS. There was a multiple factor on the BTS on which the capacity can be defined, right? But all the call connected, resource connectment, management of the radio parameters, counters, handover decision, right, channel allocations, and this all usually taken care by the BSC. And this is the UE. So this is related with your GSM architecture. It's a kind of a, we are having a 2-layer or a 3-layer architecture we can talk about. One is the BTS part, another is the BSC part, then the MSC, and the subset of the MSS, which become the NSS, network switching subsystem. Now if we look about the next level of the technology, which is the your 3G UMTS, right, how it was getting changed, right? So here on the core side, if you see on the core side, this is the NSS part, right, network subsystem. This is the same, the BSS part, base station subsystem, and this is the UE part and the other network elements. So if you compare with your GSM technology on this UMTS, right? On the network subsystem, now we are having a two kind of different core element. One is the circuit switch, right? That means all the switching and the communication based on the circuit switching methodology. And when we talk about the CS core or the circuit switch core, and the circuit switch, that means it's given you a permanent or the dedicated channel was allocated, which will be allocated for an individual user, right? That means once a resource is allocated to any individual user, that resource will be used until the call is not getting disconnected. And for that to accommodate more users, we required the more resources. Now the technology got evolved, so that CS core, and also they converted to the bundling on the packet switch, where we are having, the one packet switch where the resources can be shared. That means within the packet multiple resources can be shared, and the channel was always a dedicated channel, but we are having the more bandwidth in terms of that. And the second term, when we talk about on this, other than the packet, if we see the legacy network, when the 2.5G or the internet era was started, so this packet core was also responsible where the communication towards the internet or the outside of the gateway is happening on the packet core, right? Now if we see the comparison between the base substation on with respect to your RNC part, here in compared to your BSC, we are having a RNC, right? The combination of node B and the RNC become your BSS system. So all the authentication, radio resource allocation part, right? The channel allocation and the communication to towards the UE and the handover decisions are taken care by the RNC here in the UMTS system, right? And one more part, two more thing was introduced in this particular system, if you see, is the SGSN and the GGSN. So SGSN is your serving GPRS node, while the GGSN is your gateway GPRS node. So this SGSN's function and GGSN's functions, how it was a different, right? So on this SGSN function, whenever you are having, let's say if you are requesting for the users on the internet, right? So all the authentication with respect to your profile, whether you are having the sufficient data in your profile, whether you are having a recharging, where you are having access to the internet service or not, is usually taken care by the serving gateway, right, which is the serving GPRS network, right? So SGSN used to take care of that particular thing, while on the GGSN, whenever once your system is authorized, you are getting the authentication, and to talk with the outer world, or I can say the internet gateway, that is the responsibility of the GGSN. And the second difference between both the technology, the speed is higher, which is the main factor for all the evolution. If you see, the voice remain the same, we are using a voice from the 1G till the 5G. All through the voice technology got changed, how the voice is getting trans receiver has been happened between the voice, from the circuit switch to the packet, all packet, or the we can talk about the all IP. But the major changes was with respect to the speed, and to make it happen, to give you the fastest speed in the UMTS architecture, one more thing was evolved. There was a direct tunneling between the RNC to the GGSN, so that the authentication, post the authentication part close, you will have a direct access, which will reduce your latency and increase your speed. Also you get a direct tunnel. So this was about the 3G architecture. And the 3G and 2G, just it was the overlap of the 2G on the 3G, right? If you compare, 3G standalone can be work, but on the terms of the hierarchy of the network or the system, from the mobile station till the NSS is remain the same. We are having the hierarchy of the network. The flattened network was introduced in the later systems. When we talk about the LT, or let's say talk about the 5G, both are having a flattened network. Now on the LT, when I say on the flattened network, that means from the multiple hierarchy of the network to the one system. So this was the first evolution on this in terms of the architecture change. So all the function of what we talk about, the BSC's function or BTS function, right? these both are combined and joined in a single device, which is the eNode B over here. We are having a BTS in 2G, we are having a Node B in a 3G. Here in the evolved Node B, it's a eNode B we are having, which is having all the function related to the RNC and the BSC are here. So let's say if we talk about the Node B, all the function related to the radio barrier control, RB control, intercell, RPM, right, mobility connectivity, all the admission control, radio allocation, right, your power controlling of the channels, controlling power, and the optimization related things with respect to the RF parameters is now taken care by the eNode B directly. And eNode B is connected directly to your SGW, the SGW what we talk about for the authentication and all, and for the controlling of the control user or the profile allocation, your HLR allocation, your user defined profile, let's say any user specific quality of service, right, that has been taken from the HSS directly. So if you can see here the HSS, right, that is for your all the profile related information, subscriber related information can be taken from here. All the authentication, security, barrier control, right, ideal mode, mobility handling is taken care by, all the controlling related function is taken care by the MME, right, while your mobility anchoring and the communication towards the data or the IP gateway or the internet gateway is taken care by the SCW and the PGW, right. All your policy related, the charging and all is taken care by the PCRF, right. And also the profile related to your, let's say if someone want to keep a profile for the some of the VIP customer as a different, when I said a VIP customer, that means someone who's paying more to the telcos. And when I said normal users who are using actually the normal available services, so there was, if we want to set a profile or a quality of service can be differentiated, and that is also taken care by this HSS and the PCRF on this particular in LTE, right. So SGW is doing the same function what it was in the UMTS as the mobility anchoring, your gateway towards the packet services or the internet services. And the PGW, actually here the PGW was introduced, which was allocating the IP address and also uses for the packet filtering or the function related to your all these internet services is taken care by the PGW. And also along with this LT, even we are having the standard nomenclature in the previous also. Let's say if we talk about the BSC and BTS communication is the ABs, right, while we are having the connectivity with the packet core or the CS core is the IUCS or IUPS or UE connectivity. Here also the standard of the nomenclature was used, which was also the same nomenclature is taken care by the 5G also. During the 5G architecture, the same interface nomenclature, or I can say the interface name was used. Let's say if your eNode B is talking to MME, that means they are talking on the S1 MME, right. On the S1 MME, whatever the protocol they are using, that is also fixed. If your eNode B talking to SCW, on the S1U, right. If your eNode B and the SCW talking on the interface, then it was the S5 or the S8 interface. Your MME, whenever it's extracting or connecting with the HSS for the user profile or the authentication related data or for the subscriber related specific data, then they are talking on the S6A, right. So this all the are now this we are moving towards the flatter network, right. So if you check or if you seen the difference between the UMTS and LTE, right. So here in the UMTS you are having still your eNode B and RNC, and RNC was talking with the SGSN and the GGSN, right. Your RNC was talking with the MSC and VLR. Your Node B is directly connected with the RNC only, right. While here on the IUB, when we said the eNode B and Node B and the RNC, and on the IUB link, here the same thing, the eNode B directly responsible and connected with your SGW MME. That means there is a, they are working on the hierarchy reduced over in this. That means the evolution over the flattened network. Now we see the difference between this, right. So before for the IoT network, we should have a different network on the cloud where the IoT will be communicated. There was a private network, there was a fixed network, there was a mobile core. So we are having a hierarchy of the networks. Now with the 5G, keeping all the devices on a mind, keeping all the connectivity on a mind, we will talk about the KPI which driven the 5G also in the upcoming slide. So keeping all such a things in a mind, the network was now device on the flattered where the one 5G core can serve all the purpose, all the operator, consumer, manufacturing, healthcare, automotive, or your machine to machine translator, IoT, ML, everything will be connected on the same network. On the same core it can be used. So one core is responsible towards all the requirement. So this was the major advantage of 5G, what was kept in mind. Till 4G we can say it was more towards the pupil focus. The 5G is a more on the things focus or the device focus. As I was talking about the KPI which drives the 5G. So if you can see on the KPI front, right, there was a major 8 KPI. One is with respect to your data growth. So the maximum peak rate we can get with this 5G is a 20 Gbps. It's in a roadmap, right? So this was the major KPI, the very first KPI. Second, the user experience data rate. This is the maximum capacity can be supported, while the user can get a maximum 100 Mbps on his device. The third KPI with respect to the spectrum efficiency. So here in a 5G, we are having a slicing method so that we can have the more users on the same spectrum. We can manage the spectrum loading in a better way so that we can have the spectrum efficiency almost 3 times as compared to the previous all technologies, right? And spectrum, I believe you all aware about this spectrum part, like how expensive these spectrums are, right? Now on the mobility front, so with the 500 kilometer per hour, you will have a seamless connectivity, right? With this old technology, right, on the speed, the same cell side or the same tower was not, the connectivity was getting disturbed with the mobility connectivity was getting disturbed. While we talk about the tie overall, there was a multiple parameters we used to tune to get this connectivity with these speeds. But here with the 5G, they kept in mind even with the 500 kilometer per hour speed, you will get the connectivity seamless. And the second major part was the latency. A bare minimum of a 1 millisecond latency was planned with this 5G's KPI. So these are the KPI which was kept in mind while the 5G was designed or the requirement of a 5G, right? As we are having all the good data, even with our user experience, we can get a 20 or even a 40 Mbps data with the current LTE, right? We are having access to the good data, and which is more than enough, I believe, for us. On the density part, if we talk about let's say we are having the connected device are much higher, but at least we can have the connectivity with the 4G. But what pushes towards the 5G, why the 5G was required, is actually defined on the basis of this 8 KPI, which is related to your ultra reliable and a low latency, which can be used for the I can say the industry revolution also. When we talk about the remote automations and all, or when we talk about the, if someone want to perform some actions on the remotely, let's say one a doctor want to demonstrate or perform operation remotely, so we required the very low latency, almost it's a real time experience is required. So this ultra reliable and low latency was planned and the major KPI. On the enhanced mobile broadband, we are having the capacity in the 4G, but with the connected devices and the requirement in the future, we are on the more on the data growth. If we talk about the data, particularly on our data, right? So there was one survey by McKinsey or someone. They analysis on the data over the world, what is the data type and how much the data we are having. So what they find, they find only 12% of the data is actually a structured data in a today's era. When we talk about a structured data, what is the structured data? A data like I'm showing you this PPT is actually a structured data. Or someone talking on the database, or someone sharing a database kind of Excel or DBMS or any of the system, that is a structured data. Someone is flashing a table either on a Tableau or a big data, that is a structure, right? Only 12% of data is a structure, while all the remaining data is unstructured in the form of photos, right? In the form of videos even, right? So these all are the unstructured data, and the requirement and demand of this unstructured data is a very huge. And as we all aware how the TikTok was very famous, it was just a data driven app which was showing you the videos, and these all are based on the unstructured data, right? So this was also one driven factor for the enhanced mobile broadband to have the more speed or the more user experience or a more data rate, right? Also the same time, now when we talk about this, now we are having the smart devices, right? A very basic smart device which we all are having, our mobile phone. Second basic, few of the guys are must be having this Alexa kind of things or a Google home kind of things, right? And nowadays the sensors requirement is getting increased. Every device, every car, everything is coming with the sensors and all. And why it was required? It was required for the automation purpose. It's required for the betterment of our life. So how this technology is known as the IoT, which is the internet of things, which will be connected and communicated with us. So the density of such devices will be very huge and high in the future. So this connected density will be 10 raised to power 6 per kilometer square kilometer. So this all the KPI was kept in a mind while the 5G was prepared and the all the architecture has been prepared. The same time, one more factor was, like, we guys are used to have in the old era, there were when we was having a phone getting a discharge very on the very less time. Let's say we are having a recharge and the phone got discharged after a 1 day or a 2 day or a 3 day, but nowadays we are having a very frequent discharge, all the because of this data driven things and the requirement and the spectrum power which is required. So the network energy efficiency also kept in a mind, so it will be that 100 times better, so that the power requirement on the spectrum requirement power on the radio signaling on the power which was required by your UE also can be reduced. So these all are the eight major factor which was driving a 5G. And when we talk about the 5G with respect to the user cases, I'm sorry, this was the next slide. Okay, when we talk about the 5G with respect to the user cases or the the actual high vision, so it's with respect to the entire this picture which will be show you like how the capacity enhancements is required, how the fixed wireless access will be required, how the home speed is required, how the ultra reliable and the low latency communication is required, and where we can use as the user case, right? On the industrial purpose, for the industrial automation, right, we require this URLLC, which is your ultra reliable and low latency communications, where all the action, all the trigger point is required on a very real time basis. On the massive machine type communication, which is the IoT, where all the sensor network is supposed to communicate with the internet, with you, with your devices and all, right? So this MMT or MMTC is the actually requirement. That's it's this all are the future. We will talk about this thing in the coming slide, how we seen and what we can see in the future also. Same time, we used to talk about whether we are having the HD video hey, HD photo hey, HD kind of things hey, or when we are buying a phone also we used to check what are the capabilities. So to perform this all the way HD videos or the 4K screen kind of things, we require the high data, and that will be surprised by this 5G. When we talk about the smart home or the automation, that is also required. When we talk about the smart cities, what is the smart cities? We all are having a smart cities. We all are the smart people living in a smart cities, right? But the smart cities, when someone is called with respect to all the sensors and the kind of the functionality which we can have on the smart cities, like we are having all the auto control traffic, we are having the automatically control your all the challan and the bills whatever is required, all kind of sensors whenever puts in a place and they work as per the desired goal. And how they will work, they require the connectivity. How they will work, they require the automation. How they will work, they require the technology to support. How they are working with respect to the goal, how the training has been done, whether it was a AI or the part of AI we are going with the deep learning, or whether it's we are going with the other type of the trainings. But the connectivity, a network which is required is the 5G. That's the requirement where the 5G is coming from now. We are having a one test case, like I heard in Maharashtra, some of the farmers are, along with some of the telco, they started this smart farming. They put all the sensors in their field, and they got the so much information with respect to the humidity, with respect to the rain, and the prediction with respect to when the crop will be ready for harvesting. So they started now. So this is the future, and these are the actually requirement. So when we talk about the user case on the machine to machine communications, right, we had seen with our mobile, we had seen with the smartwatches what we are having, we had seen the smart home devices, how they are communicating. This will be on the more side, the density of such devices will be very higher, and we require a network to support such a density also. On the enhanced mobile broadband, as we talk about all the gaming, HD videos, hologram, virtual realities, right, augmented realities, this will be the future. What will be required, which are the data, I can say the data demanding applications. And on the same time, we talk about the industry revolution, when the industry is moving towards the automation, all the risky kind of work where the life can be in a danger is nowadays robots or the automation has been trained to perform such activities. For support on the remote areas, when a doctor cannot travel or a patient cannot travel from a remote area, so they are thinking about the remote surgery or a haptic fiber or the connectivity directly, where they require the ultra reliable low latency. That means a real time communication is required, right? Also, we used to see all the webex or the webcast with related to the robotics things, how they are controlling the motion, online gaming. This is all required the ultra low latency. A better example, while we are talking about, let's say if I am on the very low or a very high latency network, right? So probably what I am saying, you can listen after the 3 minutes or 4 minutes, not on the almost real time. So such a things are required with the latency of 1 millisecond, which is nothing. Now if we talk about like the how the word is changing and how we can how we are saw the word changing, right? We are in the age where we are seeing the evolution on almost on an everyday basis, right? If we can look around our world, we are seeing the changes, the new technologies are coming. We had saw the human society when we are having the all the people are sitting on the same couch and discussing and debating. Now we are having all the people sitting on the same couch, but they are working on their own devices, or they are communicating via the devices only. So the society has been changed with respect to the devices. Every home is having a multiple of devices, and this we saw in a decade only. If we talk about the year 2001, right, when I got my first mobile phone, before that the mobile was something a very big thing, and nowadays mobile is nothing. Everyone is having, everyone is talking on devices. So the word is getting changed. Same time, we can see how the machines are working. Now LG launched his own devices, where not only the LG, there was a multiple vendor now launch, where you can communicate with your machines. Before coming home, you can order, like you can order to your AC to set the temperature on this particular thing, and I will be there at home by this. So you can set the time also, you can command and communicate before coming to the home. So machine to machine communication is also started. We are having all these machine to machine communication devices nowadays, right? We saw this and we are using it. The internet is now open for everywhere. Either it's a internet drone which was launched, whether we are talking about the satellite internet connectivity, we are talking about the internet on the metros or the internet over the planes while traveling, right? So now these things are getting changed. This is the basic requirement. The internet is now a part of a basic requirements. Like we used to hear about the roti kapda makan, so now it's a roti kapda makan and internet. What is required now? Mobile as a remote, we are seeing everyday's life. Probably someone of you joining on a mobile and the same time you are controlling some other devices also from your mobile. We are doing it. We saw this and we are using it, right? This all things was a very big thing, let's say about a 10 year earlier or a 20 year before. No one think about how the healthcare sector was evolved, how the healthcare sector was taking care of your necessary and the requirement. We are having a multiple apps like a Healthify, which now adopted the AI along with this, so that the AI function can support you with respect to what you are eating and how it was happening. So the things are getting evolved and we are connected with this. So now we are having a more towards the instrumental life, where someone's supposed to suggest us to take care. Now the device is suggesting us what to eat, how to eat, and how to take care of our own life. We used to set a reminders in our phone for the water and everything, right? The same time, without any network, this Giraffe, it's something, it's giving you the internet connectivity or the SIM which is selling on without any network. They are the open network. They are having a tie-up with all the telcos and they are selling. They are a big company. So the things are getting changed. A mobile network which actually run by you, you can select your own operator. You don't require to change the SIM. Just buy a SIM, select your own operator, and you can have all that particular operator in without exchanging with changing a SIM. All through we are having a number portability kind of things, but this is where the open network, you can change any number of time without going in the process and all. So this kind of things will be in the future. We will have, right? Now when we talk about what we had seen, what we had observed, what we are actually having, to let's talk on the predictions. So I picked this prediction of the IBM, right? They predicted a 5 on the basis of our senses, how the world and will be changed. So let's see the first prediction on this, right? So it was from the Rob Saz, who is the retail industry expert of the IBM. So what Rob said, and her prediction was related with, we will have, in the next 5 years, we will have a technology where from the devices we can touch and observe and the feel how actually the texture is there. The touch function which we used to have nowadays, by touching any of the things. To check my laptop, I can touch and I can feel whether it was a hard or soft. To have any mobile cover, I have to check whether it's a hard, soft, silicone, and what. To check if anything on the cloth side. By the way, I'm very bad on that. I'm not aware, but some people I saw, they can check the cloth by looking like whether the quality of the cloth, how the quality of the cloth, whether it was a good, whether it was a bad, it was a cotton or something else, it was a linen, right? So these all things we can have in the future by the mobile touch, and how it can happen and how it can be possible, right? By the cognitive computing. And now what is the cognitive computing? It's the division of artificial intelligence. And what is the artificial intelligence? The name suggested itself, right? It's a intelligence which can match with the artificially with the human brain. That means a mimic of a human brain, or mimic of a human intelligence, I can say, rather mimic of a human intelligence is actually artificial intelligence. Now in the artificial intelligence we are having a multiple divisions. One as a deep learning. The deep learning, when we talk about, that was actually mimic the our brain working, how the neurons of our brain is working. that was mimic with this deep learning, where we are having a layer wise architectures, and we are having a hidden layer where what the processing is going on is not seen, but we will get the output as required and the desired, right? On the same functionality, if we go more deep on that, then the cognitive computing has been comes in the AI, right? Where it was help you the devices to behave or work like the human brain, let's say along with the feeling, or giving the information of the feeling. That was the cognitive computing. And it is possible in a future when we will have a devices having a senses, like the device on the basis of the picture, it can change the feeling. While you are touching, you can see whether if you are touching a stone on a picture, you will get a hard touch. If you are touching something a soft like a flower, you will get a soft touch. It can be possible, and it will be possible in the near future, right? What the things we are talking about almost a 20-year back is nowadays is a reality. The similar they predicted on the senses, the first sense is a touch will be the future. And how it will be help the future, it will be very good for all the online sale. Let's say if you are buying a cloth online, maybe from any of the app, right, you can see the quality of cloth. It is also used for the remote area artists who are working and preparing something, and he can actually demonstrate without sending his sample to anywhere by these devices. They can get, and it will help us the economy also. Doctors can also use the same by touching, and they can have the more explicit predictions, or the medicine can be given on the basis of this using this technology in the future. The another application with respect to our home saving, we can have, let's say during the driving also, we can have a such a sensor where if they can alert us on the basis of our touch, or the uh, whether we are feeling sleepy on the touch, they can alert whether we touched the something, and after some time it will give you the alert, so that you cannot feel sleep while driving. All through the driving will be not required, by the way, as we are moving towards the driverless car, which is again all because of this cognitive computing, deep learning, and the AI mechanism, and also with the IoT technology, right? But at the same time, even this can be the use for the old legacy cars if someone is not upgraded on this driverless car. So this was the first prediction on the basis of touch by Rob, right? The second prediction on the basis of after touch, it's a sight, right? We are having a kind of a things available nowadays, right? So it was by the Dr. John, right? What he predict ki in next 5 year, the computer will be able to not only see or look at the image, but they also understand what they are looking. They can make the relationship between the pictures and a kind of things. The Google Lab is also working on a kind of things. If you are having a Google Lab access, or if you can search, the Google is developed one translator. Now they also launch on the beta version, also launch you, which can convert any of the language or anything. So they combine the two technology. One is the NLP, which is the natural language processing, NLP, NLU, along with this vision. So if you are clicking, let's say you are somewhere seeing any Chinese language or a Japanese, right? If you are clicking a picture of a Japanese language or a signboard, Google convert it to particularly in English or any of the language required, what was written by just that. So they combine these two things. One is the NLP and another one is a vision, right? So we are having a kind of a things available, but in the future we will have a more detailed version. When we said about the detailed version, or the when we talk about the more enhanced version, that is, they will make a correlation by seeing a picture. By seeing a leaf, they can correlate the tree, they can correlate what kind of tree, they can correlate the environment is required, they can correlate what kind of fertilizers or what kind of take care is required. So they can correlate, right? So this will be the future. And the again, if we talk about the advantage of this, so there will be advantage of this vision. The very first thing, um, it can also help for the people who cannot see, so they can have the external eye for them as a device which can see the color, shape, density, texture, who can decide and help them also. And recently, maybe last year, I came through one of the project which was for the blind people, right? And I was also got to invited for the some suggestion. One of the group was working, and they are actually working on the external eye for the blind people. So they are having a three versions of it. One will be the blind stick, which is a very normal and available kind of things, and enhancing on the same thing they are working is something for the external eye for the blind also. That is the one very good advantage. And other than this, on the our general life, again the doctor, without visiting on the thing, if he's just seeing a picture, and computer can suggest at this disease or a picture of that disease. Let's say you are having some mole or something, by looking that mole, the computer can predict and suggest you this mole is related with the XYZ disease. Why it was so? The comparison of that disease is this. If usually doctor used to do the uh, test to identify exact reason, right, to make a medicine or to suggest you a medicine, while this can be done by the system which can help doctors to identify whether it was exactly that one or another one. On the basis of the prediction, on the basis of the understanding of the sight vision, it can be predicted by, and again this will be with the help of the cognitive computing, which is the branch of the AI, right? On the basis of this all the vision technology, we can also, or the law enforcement team can be identified the future, for to identify if any, let's say where we are having a crowded place or something, right? And some of the people who are not behaving supposed to be behave as a socially, they can identify the people also, or all of such a, uh, they can maintain the law and order on the such a places by the helping of this. It can also use for the all accidental zone or the highways where such an incident will be reported, and promptly that device identified and report to, without knowing and without this, that directly report to the ambulance or the hospitals, like this was seen as an accident and they are not sure whether it was a hurted or not, so that can be contacted very rapidly. Now on the third prediction, let's talk about the third prediction is related with the hearing, right? So it was by Dr. Dimitri, right? What he's predicted in the next 5 year, computer can identify and understand all the sound, and make on the basis of sound, they can sense the emotions also. The sound bifurcation, still we are having some of the sound bifurcation, right? If you can, there was a few devices where you can make a sound and that devices can suggest you the similar sound, or a kind of they can identify the sound. But what we are talking about on the understanding of sound, so it will be the future. Like our brain can recognize or differentiated with the multiple of sound, whether it was sound. Even the few people are so smart and so good, they can even differentiate by listening a sound of a bike, whether the bike belongs to Honda or it's for Yamaha. So our brain is having these capabilities, and same capabilities or same kind of capabilities can be transferred with this cognitive computing to the systems, and system can have this in the future. Your device, your mobile phone, actually that can sense your mood in a future by detecting on your verbal or the vocal pattern, whether you are angry, whether you are not angry, you are happy or something, that can be predicted by your phone. And that can be used even for the commercial purpose also. Let's say if some of the app is using this particular function, on the basis of your mood, if I can start showing you all the advertisement or the things related to that mood, and probably I will get more sales on this. So commercially that can also use. Same can be used for the baby care also. Let's say we are having a multiple devices, or they are selling for the baby monitoring and all, and they are just a monitoring. Okay, they are just checking whether, and you have to monitor manually. They are just transmitting the videos or kind of a voice only, but this can sense whether the baby is actually hungry, why it was crying, whether they beat again, or whether they are feeling lonely and they required someone, or they are not feeling sleepy, or they are having a pain, right? On the basis of the cry and the voice, the system will analyze and predict. And this prediction was, whenever we talk about the predict and all, that is a part of a cognitive computing. When it's come, the human behavior mimic is done by the cognitive computing in the AI. The brain mimic is done by the deep learning. Intelligent mimic is a normal which is done by the ML or the AI, right? So when we talk about the behavior changes, then always it will be always a cognitive computing is getting used in the network, or that is used in the system. It can also use for the future predictions with the help of sensor, with the help of voice, for the remote locations, whether we are having uh, geographically it's very difficult to travel, or to control such a thing, that can be done on the basis of the vocal pattern or the signs of the voices over there to predict the things. So it can be future, it will be possible in the future, right? Now coming on the next is related with the test by Dr. Lowe, right? So what Dr. Lowe predict, in next 5 years probably our system will be having the more understanding of a food or a taste rather than us. Like our tongue is actually a chemical, it's actually a chemical lab where it determined what taste and how it was tasting something we like a very good reason being, our tongue, who's the our chemistry lab, actually like that particular thing and sends the signal to our brain, and we like that thing much more as compared to the other things, right? And the similar kind of functionality or a working can be adopted by this all AI and mechanism to the system, so that system can have the taste also. And there was a multiple advantage, believe me, like um, what he suggested, like in the future people used to eat a lot to maintain the calorie, as they are not sure whether they will get a food tomorrow or not. But our brain is actually having the same kind of things, and we are, we are moving towards this obesity nowadays. Everyone is talking about the weight loss and all the multiple things, healthy lifestyle and all. So this kind of system can help us. They can, on the basis of food and our choices, they can also predict all the dishes what we should eat. On the basis of that, they can also predict the recipe also, what we can make, which will be, we will like. So it can mimic our taste also, and we will give the personalized things in the future, right? So this is very specifically used by a few of the people, not for the all of the guy. But when we are talking about the senses, so this is one of the very good sense what we are having out of 5 can be, adopted by the system in next 5 year, as per the prediction by the IBM scientist. And if we talk about the last one, the smell, and believe me, this one is the more useful. The smell, this is by Dr. Henrik, right? So smell is something like our nose can detect 1,000 of smells, even more than. And the smells when we detecting them, it's actually required the coordination of all the other senses also. Sometimes if we are having the memory, the same smell or the fragrance, right, we can easily identified. But sometimes we have to touch, we have to see, and then we memorize that smell, we memorize that fragrance, right? So for to achieve this particular sense, we required all these kind of senses also. Let's say the touch is also required, smell, to smell, uh, taste is also required to smell, the vision is also required to smell, right? While we are smiling from our nose, but we required a correlation, and that correlation can be developed in the future by this cognitive computing. And the major advantage is, I was telling you about one of the former who set up this agriculture product, where he want to identify when the crops are ready and when to they can visit the field to cut the crops and all the things. So they put a sensor on the crops, right? And the same thing can be used by this technology also. Let's say they kept the sensor on the mango, and the mango smell as a raw, and the mango smell when it was a mature and ready for it, both will be the different. So on the basis of that, it can trigger, right? So that can be also used uh, to identify it. Let's say if you are getting a sick, right? So on the basis of the smell your body is having when you are sick, the phone can predict your smell is today is different and looks like you might be having this kind of things. So please take care or visit your doctor or see or take a rest, right? So that can also be predicted by body's smell by the system, right? The same thing can be used to identify the whether the bacteria's infection food or the for the cold storage or the facilities where we are having the storage for the food items, all the healthcare where we are having kind of where we required a proper utilities are there, where we require the infection things or the infection cannot be increased. So such a system can be used for such a places. So these are all about the five senses. So I can again repeat the five senses just as overview. So we started with the touch, and in the future we can talk about the touch by the system, right? Then second was is the vision. The sight can be done all the correlation by the system in the future. The third is related with the hearing. Fourth is again related with your taste, and the fifth one with the smell, right? So these are five prediction by the IBM scientist, and it may be in the future, and it's all on the basis of the AI, the broad level of the AI. So how the AI in a telecom, right? Excuse me for a minute. Okay, thank you. So now let's talk about the AI in a telecom, how the artificial intelligence help the telecom industry, right? So in a telecom industry, before going on this, how the AI actually stand in the world, right? So in the global telecom industry, they are investing a huge money on the AI for the all the software, hardware, and services. And it was a prediction by the Deloitte, a USD 36.7 billion will be invested again by the 2025. And believe me, it will be before the 2025. The way the things are moving nowadays, the market size of the AI, as per the prediction, it will be increased from the 315.7 million to the 11.3 billion in next 5 years. And believe me, it will be very fast. And let's talk about the areas where the major investments are there on the AI. First, on the network optimization. Second, on the preventing maintenance. Third, on the virtual assistance. And fourth, on the RPA, which is the robotic process automations, right? So the optimization or something, if we talk about in a length, right? So before going on this, let me brief you about this, how why these areas are selected and measure investment on this area. Although I covered again also these things, but the optimization is related with you guys, directly users, the users pattern, whether how they are getting the services, and on the basis of user pattern and the portfolio and the requirement, a network optimization used to done on the basis of user complaint, sometimes on the basis of the normal drive or the benchmarking drive. The optimization has been done, so this optimization can be taken care by the system itself. That means you have to bare minimum intervention is required for any network optimization. All the maintenance activities required a field visit to check how the system is working, to collect the information of this system which cannot be collected remotely, right? And on the basis of that, let's say there was some alarm or something, on the basis of remote connectivity, fix this thing, a physical visit is required. So such a things where the both the humans are involved, or the both the human interventions are required, where the repeated tasks are there. So to avoid that, the AI can play a big role, right? Virtual assistant we all are using, I'm sure, right? But that also help for any of the telco to have the customer relationship more precise, to the point, problem solving, self satisfactory, and without much human interventions, and on the point, on a real time basis. And RPA, the we are having a multiple robotic process automations nowadays, right? Let's say there was all the tasks which are repeated in nature, which required everyday same task. Let's say if someone asked me to follow the same thing or do the same task each and every day, 365 days, 10 years, or a 20 years, right? I'm sure no one is having that will to perform the same task, and probably they will got change. So to avoid such a things, where the human are actually can be utilized in some other services, in the betterment of the network, in the betterment of the future, on the or the enhancement, such a repeated task can be done by the remote process automation. This is the one. Second, can be used for the all the prompt requirement. Let's say there was outage in the network or something, when we are know, on the basis of a training can be given. A training, when we said, it's a kind of uh, algorithm trend or input to the machine learning approach, that can be given to any of the devices, right? Or the process, so that on the basis of particular alarm or a particular things, they can fix it by their own, on the basis of the past learning, right? So now let's talk about this, how this, when I said a training or this, so how the difference between the standard approach and ML approach, why this all things are required. So if we talk about the standard approach, right, in a standard approach we used to study the problem. And anyway, if we are working something, that means there is some problem, that's why we're supposed to work to solve that problem. To solve that problem, right, what we used to do, we set a certain set of rules. On the basis of rules, let's say, or a checklist, I can say, on the basis of rules or checklist, I can take an example of one alarm. To clear this alarm, first I have to check point A, then point B, then point C, then point 4, right? So A, B, C, and point 4, I have to fix it. Now to fix this, I have to write the rule, I have to write the script, right? And on the basis of a script, that can be evaluated. If there was some error, either during a compilation, either during the output, I have to again fix, and then I have to launch and check. This was usually a standard process. While in the RPA, with the ML, what we can do, we can give the data directly, we can set a goal with the ML. On the basis of, they can mimic our intelligence. On the basis of all the past learning, this past learning we can give as a training input to the ML algorithm, which is known as a trend. If you are getting this, I'm having an experience of this, to check ABC point 4, right? So ABC 4 के बाद में you have to perform this particular activity. Then the similar kind of a trend can be given to the ML build their own code part and all. They analyze, they will give you output. If the output, whatever you are getting, is matching with the goal, then it's okay. Then again you have to train your ML again and then launch. So you required a bare minimum interventions, and this algorithm can get better with the time, with the data, with the input, every time. Here on the standard approach, you don't have to look at the input, right? You have to set a rule and then you have to run. Here on the basis of past experience, all the input, the ML will adopt the algorithm, it will mimic your intelligence, it will start working, and then you can launch it. So how this was helping in our telecom industry, if we talk about the enhancing a cell tower efficiency, which is already, these all things are more or less already launched and used by multiple telcos in the world. The cell tower efficiency, the enhancement is a one of the key factor for the optimization. Every day, every telco is getting a thousands of complaint, even a more than that, related to the coverage area, low internet speed, or multiple issues, voice cracking, one way call muting. There was multiple reasons, and every reasons, right? For every complaint, there was a set of standard processes there to follow, right? And the end result is the optimization. Now, if this all set can be given and trained to the AI based software or a system who can decide themselves, who can perform on the basis of user portfolio profile and all, they can enhance the cell tower efficiency. They can do the optimization on the basis of that. Let's say we are having a three cells, one cell is less loaded, another is a high loaded. If he can do the remote tilting or something to increase the coverage area to the another cell side or overlap the cell side to adopt the more customer or the to support the more customer or the download bandwidth or something, so that can be done by the AI mechanism which the people are using. And after this LT, there was a multiple, this kind of things has been evolved. The self optimization network SON is actually a part of the LT which was launched, where most of the repeated tasks related to the optimization is taken care by the SON, right? Then second can be used, this AI or the ML mechanism can be used to identify the churners, which is the biggest challenge nowadays. The biggest threat for any telco is the customer churn rate, right? Now they cannot stop anyone, but they can analyze on the basis of the pattern why the user X was not taking my services and move to the another telco. How was his profile? He was not getting a better speed or he was not getting a better service. On the basis of this, they can do the analysis and they can predict even this user is about to get he is not satisfied with your services and very soon he will be leave your network, and probably you will get a call or that user will be get a call from the telco and he will talk about all the problem which you are having, and they will said like these are the problems probably you are facing and we will fix it. The user will be more delighted in how the company is taking care of myself and they called me and informed me. So by this method they can save the churners and they can have more stable user or the subscriber in their network, and they start using it. They start analyzing all the portfolio, all the the profiles of the subscriber to identify it. Detecting the fraud or the anomaly is something can be done on the basis of by reading the user profile, but it cannot be the we cannot have the structure or the trend algorithms, right? So we can have this kind of technology with the help of on the basis of predictions only. So here the cognitive computing can be used to identify such a cases where the on the basis of the behavior pattern of that particular user, they can inform to the law enforcement agency like this user looks like something different, like looks like some gadbad on this particular user, right? So they can inform it. So um, they can have this kind of services also. And LBS is a one kind of service is already implemented by all these telco, where they given access to all the law enforcement agency, and they can have this kind of detail, not that advanced what we are talking about, but still they are having all the detailed information they can fetch from there. The improving customer service we talk about, the best part is a chat box. A chat box which can help you while you are having an issue or any customer, right? Whenever they are coming as a customer, so on the basis of their profile or their requirement, a chat box or to the point, on the same time, seamless problem can be solved. So most of the cases, like if you talk about the customer service, they are having a more than thousands calls in a day, even much more than a thousands calls in a day, where they're supposed to handle this kind of things. So they can move towards the self service by using a chat box which is smart enough to understand, have access all the portfolio, all the things, all the profile, and suggest the things better. And we talk about this RPA. So RPA is something for all the repeated activities, right? And believe me, this RPA is actually for the betterment of network, and the same time to have the human resources placed in the better place. No one want you to work a repeatedly same thing kind of things, while every telco, every employer want you to put your energy effort in the very direction, in a good direction, rather than doing all this repeated work. So this RPA nowadays is a hot talk, and most of the repeated activities are now getting replaced by these RPAs. That means we are having the more human hours where they can put their brain in the right direction. Yes. So this was what we talk about, all these cases of artificial intelligence. Similar kind of the data science cases can be there, like where which can be used for the multiple things in the telecom industries, right? So with respect to this data science, we can have the product improvement also. When we talk about the data science, right? A data science, that means handling a hell lot of data, a very big data. On the basis of that, we have to make up predictions. On the basis of prediction, a decision can be done. On the basis of the decision, all this can be improvement can be achieved. So the basic input is the data. On the basis of data, product improvement can be done by looking at all the subscriber. Let's say they found some telco in a one particular region or the area. Just for example, let's say Indore, they found in Indore the internet users are much more active between evening 6 to 8, right? Now to attract the 6 to 8 time slot, on the basis of this they can put a new product. They can offer the 6 to 8 internet is free or a very less price, right? So they can gain the more users, they can give the more service, and this all prediction and the product improvement can be done basis of this. The same time, this is all about the customer service. Now if you see on the telecom vendor side, let's say they introduce a kind of a new BTS or a kind of a new node B or kind of a new equipment for the telco, right? And if they got the access to that particular equipment, they collect all the data, how they are behaving. The behavior in India is something different than the behavior in a Europe. The behavior of the Europe is something different than the behavior in a UK, right? So they can prepare on the basis of these collections a product segment for the US is something different which is required as compared to the India, and the Europe is required something different than the India also. So that can also be done, and they are doing on the basis of this data science. All this location based service and the fraud management, as I said, this LBS is already extended. So they are trying to identify on the basis of this data science. The customer service are getting better, as I said. On the basis of this data science, they can offer you the good offer good service on the basis of a profile. Let's say someone used to have the call rate between 9 to 10 every day, on a night between 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Probably a company can offer you some good rate for this particular time frame, right? Or they can set, the on the basis of your profile, even in the future they can have this optimization set. Between 9 to 10, this user used to have a multiple calls, so I have to ensure he will get a better connectivity on that particular time. Then in that particular area, if they are able to match the requirement for yourself, the automized optimization can be done for you in the future, right? This kind of things can be done, it's possible. All the prediction analysis for the companion or the target on the basis of the data of the users, behavior of the users, even detailed record analysis or the real-time network analysis can be done, right? So the telco, what start with the single voice call in the 1G technology, is now not the same. The voice call function, it become the entire system now, which can have the voice, text, internet, IoT, AI, cognitive computing, right? All these future things. So this was not a simple telephone service. What we used to call as the mobile in the initial day is a simple telephone service or a simple voice service, but it's something beyond that, right? So the, you know, if we, I just pick two more cases for today's, right? And quickly I will just give you the brief idea. These are all the live cases, right? So one thing with respect to your capacity and coverage enhancement, right? So one of the telco actually introduced this Fuji neural networks, right? And this was part of the research, their research, right? And what they did, they are having the self optimization parameters. On the basis of self optimization parameter, they set a central control mechanism where all the training has been done. When I said a training, that means I input data to the algorithm, right? Or the data which is required to set a goal for any algorithm is a train or a training part, what we used to call in the ML or the AI, right? So all this training part or these self-optimized parameters are set with the central control mechanism, right? And on the basis of that, they used to maintain a data distributed in the different RF parameters to enhance the coverage and the capacity, right? For the example, if there was a capacity or coverage optimization is required, so there was a very key parameter is a signal to interference plus noise ratio, which is SINR, right? Whenever there was a quality issue or something, so usually all the radio engineers who are working or radio managers, they used to check how was the SINR on that particular side and the signal, right? So to set this particular SINR, there was the algorithm can be set, right? If we talk about the formula of a SINR, when we used to check or the how to compare how the SINR is a higher or lower, right? So there was, it's related with the noise there in the system and how the noise was correlated. The noise was usually correlated with respect to your transmit power for the each resource block, right? So it was actually the ratio of the power transmitted for the resource block which was with you with respect to the total power of that particular E node B, right? And then the reference with respect to the signal and the noise you are getting, or the here in the, if you can see, the Gij is actually the link of the loss between the E node B to the user I. And there was a multiple reasons for the losses. It may be because of the multi-fade or the path loss or the antenna gain or the shadowing or the multi-fade or the fading scenarios also, right? So that can be automatically optimized and done by the system. So this system which I shown is the, this was taking care with respect to all this such kind of algorithm. The second most parameter is related with the antenna, the tilt size, the horizontal gain and the vertical gain, that was also taken care by this system. A rate is implemented to give the tilt, remote tilt can be taken care. So this all for this optimization, they do not require to worry कि someone go and check all the parameters. They have all set up this, they train their algorithm in a way all the decision is usually taken care by the devices. And the zone which was introduced along with the LTE, which is your self-optimized network, is actually the input for such scenarios. And you will be surprised, like the neighbor cell or something was a very big thing in the with the 2G or 3G. Let's say if you are moving from one direction to another direction, you got the phone call cut, right? Why it was got cut? Because the neighbor was not defined, right? Now such a things was taken care in the LT. There was a no neighbor definition kind of scenarios. It was always on the base of your phone. Your phone used to share all the measurement file with the eNode B. eNode B, on the basis of this measurement file, decide which is your closest neighbor, and then before giving a handover, they establish a connection with the your neighbor cell side. So this all the previous eras in the 2G 3G, this all required the manual working.
Now with this LTE and all, the seamless coverage and all, this is all because of this SON and these features which was implemented, right? Now this is the second example. The second example I had taken with respect to the, the virtualizations. Like there was a two function in this virtualization, if we talk about, right? So it's not a simple artificial intelligence was implemented, but XI is also implemented. When we talk about the XI, it's, the guided AI or the explanational AI, where we can have, the explanation also. As we probably you guys are aware, the AI is like a black box. you know all the function has been taken by, you will get the output, you will give the input, but how it's working is a kind of a black box. A simple AI program can be, you can detect, but when you are having a neuro technologies, where you are having a deep learning, where there was a multiple layer of the data was happening, so it was very very difficult how the decision was taken to be controlled or to be identified. Only on the setup, on the basis of the goal set by you, you can identify it. So for such a scenario, XAI was implemented as an engine where the AI explanation can be given, how and why this decision was taken by the AI layer, and what was the input was there, and how they decided this should be the output. So this was implemented, and why it was implemented, reason we, if we all aware, like the future is all about cloud, right? Telco is also going on a cloud. So NVF is a telecom cloud, right, where the nature virtual functionalization is done. All the virtualization function has been there, right? Along with that, to manage all these microservices, there was a multiple microservices are required. It's not simple the server where you are got the space and you supposed to work, but there was a multiple microservice related to the enterprise, related to the mobility, related to the multiple functions, or the equipments are required. And to manage this all the microservice, right, by a human or by making any of the Excel sheet or by making any of the database is something really very difficult. You can manage, but during a connectivity point and everyday functions are near to impossible for anyone. So the artificial intelligence was introduced along with this, which can predict all the on the basis of the input or the monitoring tool or the database what we are giving, right? On the basis of the train algorithm, it will do all the function related to the microservices. But how you can explain whether this was done properly or not? So the XI was implemented here, and such a scenarios are actually nowadays implemented by the telcos. They are asking for such a scenarios where bare minimum intervention is required, but they required to monitoring the things whether it's going right or wrong, and to monitoring that such a particular things, to explain such a particular things. XI was also involved in the orchestral layer. If you can see here, this is the XI engine which was in, implemented. So these all are the future. What we are talking about, this all are the future. So telecom industry, right, it's continuous in a trend, it's in a demanding, right? And you can sense like a 2022 was actually we all sustain and we are able to perform the study, continue everything, it's only because of this telecommunications, right? So we are having the, the customer experience, customer demand is increasing every day, right? So here we are having a new technology which was also adopted by. So as a career perspective, if we talk about on a telecom industry, right, so we are on a constant growth. Every day we are having a growth, every day there was a new thing is coming, right? Not only from a field engineer, not only from a salesperson, nowadays all these software kind of things is also taken care by the telecom engineers also in the telecom sector, right? So even since 1876, this was specifically I mark 1876 when the patent was given for the telephone, right? Since that day till today, the evolution of the telecom and the growth of a telecom is exponentially. So if we talk about the future in the telecom, is, you can recall, we talk in the three major layer. One with respect to the mobile wireless, right? Second, wireline, and third will be enterprise services internet. So further if you see, there was a multiple division, and I just pick the major divisions, only the technical part I pick, all the technical functions which are related. So for any mobile wireless, there was a radio, there was a transmission, there was a project, there was a further subset with this on the radio. One is a BSS, another is the core. Even there was a different in the core, one is the PS core, one is the CS core, right? So whatever the positions we are talking about, every function is required. And with this AI and all, so the automation requirement is a very huge. If you talk about the radio planning, we talk about this all automation with respect to your self optimized network, right? Or the AI based automation, right? Auto automation of the sorry, optimization, auto optimizations functions. So this all function and all things is required actually someone who's supposed to train this algorithm, someone who understands the system and tell the algorithm or the developer how supposed to it work. Then there was a daily, every day we have to perform all the function related to the radios, all the work which was done by the automated script to be verify and the check and all. So there was a huge requirement in the telecommunication, and there was a multiple streams. If we talk about the radio planning, there was a number of streams in the radio planning, one with respect to the capacity, one with respect to the optimization, one with respect to the project, one with respect to the automation, one with respect to the cloud management also, one with respect to the data engineering part also. Like there was a very very big data is required also in the radio planning part, so that is also required. On the implementation we required the field support, right? On the transmission we are having a multiple technology. One is the radio relay product like the microwave and all. Then we are having a fixed like the optical fiber, and then the packet, all packet IP layer. Even in the optical we are having a multiple things. Optical as a STH, optical as the um, your DWDM, optical is the packet transport node, optical is the hybrid node. So there was a multiple divisions to be learned and multiple divisions for the vacancies and the locations where supposed to be work. So this telecom in the wireline, if we talk about, so the radio planning part is usually talk about the air interface. When we talk about the optimization or the transmission part, so they are talk about the communication between the two devices, right? So the management of the devices, NMS, field, right? And the automation related to that particular NMS, scripting part, this all are required, and they are, means telcos are looking for such things, and they are, as I said, the repeated tasks they are giving to the remote automation, and they are putting all their brain and human resources in the right direction, which can help to enhance and evolve the technology and the uh, telecom network also, the network part also, right? So there was a multiple things. So any question related to the career perspective on the wireline? I'm not able to see the chat box. Okay, so on this telecom, then we are having the next time is the fixed wireline. Again, in a wireline we are not having the radio part majorly, but we are having a transmission. A transmission is a very critical part, right? Here is a microwave, optical, or IP. In a fixed line, microwaves are very less, right? Previously we used to have, but nowadays the microwaves are very less, and the technology also evolved for the microwave or the radio relay product, right? So we are having optical. In the optical, requirement is with respect to the network management system, with respect to the architect, right? With respect to the automation part, with respect to the field support also, right? Then with respect to the planning side also, the capacity planning and all. And then the NOC is having all the different function, a function related to the alarm monitoring, a function related to the fault management, a function related to the tech cases or the specifically support on the issues. Then we are having a PM where the all the performance related part of the NOC or the KPI is supposed to be maintained. Then on the switch side, there was a multiple things. Now the switch are moving more towards the telco crowd, so we required a telco or the data engineering architect or the automation engineers is also required. Then the management part also. On the fiber, when we talk about the wireline, then the fiber comes in the picture, and related to the fiber there was the NMS also, field support, planning, right? And the performance, that is also taken care by the fiber team. And then the implementation part, all related to the project. And the very third division, which is related with the internet service or enterprise. So most of the data centers are there who supposed to work, right? So we require the data architects also. Cloud administration is the more requirement. The project management is more critical, as this all are the internet services or the enterprise customer are actually the companies and all, which are the very I can say the hot customer or a VIP customers, which required a seamless and the error-free delivery, right? Then all the planning related to the automation or the implementation work. So there was a huge different organizations in the telecom where the requirement and the career can be done. And with respect to this AI and all, so you can think more about the automation part. Even with the automation or the automation, you supposed to get and you supposed to work the the process output and the decision taken on the basis of the process output. Is so far all the decision are usually taken care by the human in the telecom. All the process part they are moving towards the automations. So this was all about these presentations, right? So I try to cover the part of 1G to 5G with respect to the technology, a bit about the architecture part, something related so that you can connect with the AI part and how the word is getting changed and how the changes we saw in the recent time. Then the prediction part, the real life scenarios or the two reference of with respect to the AI, how it was implemented in the telco, and the career perspective. So it's time for the question or anything. Let me see. So there was no query on the chat box.
Hello, sir. Very wonderful presentation. There is a query from a student.
Okay.
Actually, I think he has made a kind of a machine-to-machine communication device, which can connect more than four items together. You just want to ask if you want to connect that items through his smartwatch and fetch the times and data where he has located the thing or something like that. So he should connect it to the radio frequency or through the some IoT things like.
He can if he's having a single individual device, right?
He's yes,
So
sir.
he can connect with the radio frequency either by the Bluetooth can be also work. He can fetch by the Bluetooth also, by
Okay.
the push mechanism of the means once you are having a device connected right on the Bluetooth,
Yes.
then how your machine to machine communication is happening. If I just want to know whether
Actually, he's
you are
not
using a
just given the detail, but he want to connect it
okay,
the
okay.
communication through his watch. So he want to just
He can use the
done.
Bluetooth by the Bluetooth also, by the
Yes.
radio frequency also. When
Okay.
we talk about there was a unlicensed bands are available of the radio frequency just
Yes.
in case, but his watch supposed to have that same frequency support, right? So most of the watches are having a Bluetooth,
Yes.
and most of the watches are connected only with the Bluetooth for all the MTMC communication, right? The radio devices, then you required radio frequency module, right? Which supposed to be, if your watch is having that radio frequency module, you can have the connectivity with your radio frequency also.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So thank you for such a wonderful and a valuable presentation. It has given such a wonderful insights of the telecom industry. Now, for the vote of thanks, I would like to invite our Mr. Aditya Mandloi, sir. Sir, please.
Okay. Myself, Aditya Mandal, as a event convener, I would like to tell my heart.
Hello,
Aditya, your voice is not audible.
good day, sir. Sir, I made a watch which work on radio frequency, and I made four tags.
Okay.
Sir, these tags are using my NRF modules, which work pretty in cool in a range of like 50 meters or above.
Okay.
These radio frequency tag are connected to our important things like keys, wallets, which we forget in our daily lives. So I made a watch which is having a good user interface so that we can ring our items. So I just want to ask that I will continue this project or leave this.
No, you can continue here. If you have started something, irrespective of it was the product was already available in the market, just finish it. Do
Sir,
not
this
live in between.
product is not available in market
I
because
I meant to say even if it was available, if you started some project, you should finish it. And there was, if you are using a radio frequency, right? As you said, it's look like a RF module. You are
sir, I just want to
RFID was actually the working mechanism of on the basis of a RFID what you are having, right?
सर एक मिनट मैं बताता हूँ सर जो वॉच है ना उसके ऊपर आईओटी लगाया रखा है आईओटी एंड रेडियो फ्रिक्वेंसी दोनों आईओटी से वो टाइम वेदर और हमारे डेट फैच करता है ऑलरेडी डिस्प्ले पर डिस्प्ले करता है और उसी के साथ हमने एक और ऑर्डिनो लगा रखा है उसको रेडियो मॉड्यूल्स के साथ यूज कर रखा है जो कि मल्टीपल रेडियो मॉड्यूल से कनेक्ट रह सकता है एट अ टाइम जो हमारे जो टैग्स हैं जैसे 4 टैग लगा रखे हैं वो हर मतलब कुछ टाइम पीरियड के बाद मैसेज सेंड करते रहते हैं हमारी वॉच को तो वॉच को पता रहता है कि ये मॉड्यूल जो है ना रेंज में और कनेक्टेड है जैसे ही वो रेंज के बाहर जाता है तो टैक्स जो है ना उसको मैसेज नहीं भेज पाते हैं वॉच को तो
आप
वॉच को पता
आपने
चलता है कि नहीं है वो रेंज में तो सर इसको मैं गूगल मतलब मैंने आईओटी जैसे फोन के थ्रू भी हम फाइंड कर सकते हैं वॉच को ना यूज करके सर मैंने पूरा यूजर इंटरफेस अच्छे से बनाया हो पर लेकिन अभी आइडिया नहीं है इसके बाद करना क्या है मतलब बना तो दिया है लेकिन फिर उसके बाद गाइडेंस चाहिए कुछ क्या करना चाहिए
सिद्धार्थ, अगर आपका बेस आपने ऑर्डिनो बेस बनाया हुआ है तो देन यू कैन हैव दी ऑल दी मोबाइल फंक्शनलिटी ऑल्सो। आपको सिर्फ एक डेटा लॉगर बनाना है बीच में।
सर
डेटा
आई
लॉगर,
क्रिएटेड सर गूगल फायरबेस सो
सो डेटा
दैट
लॉग
वी
आपके
कैन
पास में गूगल फायरबेस है तो दैट कैन बी वर्क एज अ डेटा लॉगर। On the basis of the data logger, you can have all the information in the watch and the communication directly. So that even आपका device out of range भी हुआ, then too once you are connected and again you can have information.
yes sir I made it
Right?
and it is working perfectly fine then I just want to ask then what to ये बना तो दिया प्रोडक्ट पर लेकिन अब किसको शो करना चाहिए सर क्योंकि कॉलेज में नहीं खुले हुए हैं तो
अरे
किसी से ज्यादा कांटेक्ट में नहीं है
आप एक काम कीजिए, आदित्य सर को ही एक बार डिटेल शेयर कर दीजिए एंड probably he can also help on this. And there there was a multiple seminars are getting happened by the AIM, which is the Atal Innovation Missions, right? And they are also supporting and encouraging such a product, so you can also highlight over there if you want to show. And they are also helping to make the product.
ओके सर
So if required, I can share some of the links or the detail with Aditya sir, right?
ओके सर आई विल कांटेक्ट टू आदित्य सर
Sure.
थैंक यू सर
The cloud administration platform, there was a question by the Anshul, right? So Anshul, when we talk about the cloud now, so cloud, there was with the telecommunication there was a different cloud mechanism as the cloud mechanism what we are having in the data centers. Like the we are having more on the NFV, right, or the MANO. But to start with, you can go ahead with any of the cloud administration certification or the learning. Either you are going with the Azure, either we are going with the AWS, whatever you are picking up, that will be good. because the baseline remain the same. Only the what we talk about this a micro service or the service lending, that is getting changed with respect to data center and with respect to telcos. So you can go ahead with any of this cloud administration certification or the learning. And if you ask me for this, so I can suggest you the AWS is the easily all the resources are available, and you can start with the AWS. Then move towards the IBM, which is little bit much more stronger than the AWS in terms of the technology point of view and in terms of the learning point of view, where you will have the more experience on the cloud. Anshul, hope it was clear to you. STN is changing the environment, but as I suggested, all this automation, all this SON or STN, that already adopted by the telcos, and these things will be get changing. So you don't worry about the changes, but the base is always same. Once you are having all the basics, and then you will go towards the evolution, you will be, it's okay. Either it's a software driven network, either it was a software defined network, either it was the automated configured network, the things will be, the basics will be remain same, and the people will be required to train such algorithms. And why this kind of things are required, why the automation is required, as I said, there was in the future, if there was a 10 raised to power 6 million units in a 1 square kilometer, and how the network can be sustainable, how you can manage the data for the connectivity part of each and everything. So you required something automated on the which you can take care of the things. So any other questions?
So one more query is there. A student, Prakhar Modi, has asked, what is the basic difference between coherent and non-coherent deduction method in LTE system?
Coherent and non-coherent, to be very frank, I cannot answer right now, like I am not worked on the things, so
Okay,
I have to check, like I'm really
okay.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
So-
Thank you, sir. Okay, fine, sir. So now I'll hand it over to Aditya Mandloi, sir, for the votive things. Thank you, sir.
Myself, Aditya Mandloi, as an event convener, I would like to pay my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Satnam Singh for his overwhelming lecture on contemporary trends and career perspective in telecom industry. The lectures are really beneficial for the participants as it has provided them deep insights of the contemporary trends and job perspective in the telecom sector. I do hope that the participant will definitely explore the promising aspects in the telecom sector, following the pathway which is shown in this lecture. So I again would like to thank you, our speaker, for enlightening us with their knowledge. I am highly thankful to our Honorable VC, Professor Dr. Sunil K. Somani, and Dean Engineering Professor Dr. D.K. Panda for their valuable guidance and motivation to conduct this event. I am also thankful to Registrar Dr. Pradyuman Yadav and his team, Ms. Amrita Mantri, Mr. Suryakant Soni, and Mr. Gajen Singh for their support. Last but not least, I pay my sincere thanks to Head of Department, Dr. Ajay Kulkarni, and faculties of Electronics Engineering Department, my dear students, and the audience, without whom we can't think of such a successful event. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to all.
Feedback. Feedback.
Thank you.
All of you, please fill this feedback link, then only you can get the e-certificate of this event. So please remember to fill up this feedback link. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay. Signing off. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
End the meeting.